Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. Now, we are actually now in this coaching carousel getting to the part that is probably the thing that is most important and probably has a greater effect on, like, the larger college football landscape. The Tennessee thing just turned out to be such a hunky-dory situation that we all got to get in and get our laughs and stuff like that. But what happens at Florida State is actually the thing I think that affects the economy just a little bit more. Why do I feel like that's what affects the economy just a little bit more? I mean, Tennessee is probably not a top 10 job. Florida State is. I could make the argument that Florida State is the best job in the state of Florida. Of all the major jobs, I could make the argument that that one is the best one. The reason I could make that argument about it is, A, you can make the argument that being in the ACC Atlantic is a better look than being in the SEC East. The other thing is they're in the part of Florida that is close to Georgia, and for a long time, you've been able to get really good football players out of rural Georgia. UGA doesn't really need them like that anymore because they're getting so many boys out of Metro because that's booming so much. What's that mean? More players for more people. Jimbo Fisher, apparently, though, he might not really want that job anymore. We hear more and more whispers that it is good as done for him in Tallahassee. He wants to get up out of Dodge. But, well, here is Sirius XM ESPNU Radio with Andy Staples. Oh, your man, Danny Cannell. Anyway, here he is kind of talking about a coaching job.
Are you going to be Florida State's coach next year?
You know my answer. I'm not going to talk about jobs.
Okay, so there's that. By the way, I don't begrudge Jimbo that at all. Once you start with that approach, you have to have that approach all the time. Like, if you never talk about any of the jobs that come up, then with people in that moment, you don't have to talk about anything else. I don't blame him for not being willing to talk about that under those circumstances. I got you, Jimbo. I feel you. Now, the problem they got at Florida State right now is they getting a little salty with Jimbo because they starting to feel like there's no chance that he's going to come back, and he's dragging this whole thing out. And by virtue of dragging this whole thing out, they are missing out on recruits that they had. 3 guys decommit recently? They're a little nervous about the decommits. Here's what Jimbo has to say about that. And by the way, I think he makes sense here.
Coach, do you understand the fans' frustration at that answer?
Sure do.
Recruiting is a huge part in all this, and people at other schools, I'm sure, are going to try to jump all over any rumors, any news they can cling to, and it's had its impact as you guys have lost some recruits there. Are you worried at all about the impact it's having on recruiting, just all of this noise?
You always worry. Recruiting, they go through those cycles all the time, and there's still time for decisions to be made for them, and like I say, if there's uncertainty, you understand that. Do you get those questions all the time? Sometimes it happens with situations like this. Sometimes I just want to take one more visit to make sure, those types of things. And it's things that we live with in our world all the time that other people don't always live with. And when there are things that we handle and deal with and have strategies to adhere to and when the time is right.
Shannon, I love how Danny said, do you understand fan frustration? Fans. Danny was talking about fans.
Fans who support and love the Florida State football program.
And may or may not have played there. Right? Like, what do you say to fans in that situation? No shade to Danny. Danny all right with me. Yeah, enough. But, no shade there. I'm just saying, Danny's like, do you get the fans' frustration on that one? Look, I don't think that the worry about keeping a recruiting class together, you're not talking to me about keeping a recruiting class together in November. And technically, it is still November. I ain't worried about that. So many things change by the time you get to the other side of that one. And no matter when Jimbo leaves, no matter how long this stretches out, somebody's going to decommit. Like, if these guys are decommitting now because they are worried that Jimbo might be wavering, then the second he said he was going to leave, they're going to decommit anyway. Like, Jimbo at this moment doesn't know anybody any answers. And, by the way, when I was a kid, they used to talk about how it is that you needed to carry out through the end of the regular season, and then you worry about that stuff later. In fact, here's Jimbo talking about that very point.
I am. We're busting our tails 16 hours a day and coaching this season for the best possible season these kids can have. And our loyalty right now, no decisions have been made anywhere. And what we're doing right now is busting our tail for these kids to have a chance to be a bowl game and keep this legacy alive.
Yeah, he he said there's no decision been made. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. He said he ain't made a decision. I'm not really pushing it. But I do feel like any questions to him about loyalty at Florida State, you're loyal as the checks keep on coming through. Like, I don't think he owes Florida State anything. If he decides he wants to get another job, part of this is just the mechanics of how college football works. And it requires you to go through all these different things. And the mechanics of college football require you, once you get the job, to leave immediately because recruiting and everything else. Like, there's no good way for a coach to leave a job and go to another one. There's no way for a coach to leave a job and go to another one in a way that's not going to make the kids feel like they left hanging high and dry. And the kids have felt like they getting left high and dry. Why? Because they can't go anywhere. At least they can't go anywhere immediately. There's no way around that one right there. So Florida State can make this push on Jimbo all they want. If y'all care that much, fire him. You got that option. Like, if you want to make a push to Jimbo about what he's going to do, then go ahead and let him go and make that decision easy as possible for him. You have that. Oh, but they're not going to do that. No, because that would ultimately be silly, and I suppose they would then have to pay out his contract. But that's what they can do if it really comes down to. What we do have in this situation, though, is something that would be largely unprecedented, which is somebody with a job the quality of Florida State going to a place like Texas A&M. Look, Aggie, I know you're there. Calm down. Don't tell me about your endowment. Don't tell me about your money. Don't tell me about your facilities. Don't tell me about any of that stuff. Just tell me why y'all haven't been good forever. That's all I want to know. And not that you've never been good in that stretch. There have been intermittent portions of success from our good friends at Texas A&M. But the idea that Texas A&M does not strike me as the sleeping giant sort of program. I don't know if we have any sleeping giant programs left. The last ones were probably the ones that were in the state of Florida. Oregon to a degree, but Oregon is not a place that you just feel like anybody could come in and make this thing crack. The question for me with Jimbo going to Texas A&M is, hey, man, I'm looking at what you guys got there at Florida State since Jameis left. And Jameis is not actually like the line of demarcation on success of Florida State, because the year before Jameis started playing, they were pretty successful. They managed to win the conference. But since then, it hasn't been so great for Jimbo. So, like, what's going to be better at Texas A&M? Texas A&M is one of those programs that's willing to back up the truck in a circumstance like this because they want to be good so bad. But what makes you think that Jimbo's going to be the guy to get that done in that way? The other thing you're going to get from Jimbo, too, go ask Florida State fans. He is going to frustrate the hell out of you in terms of actual game management and play calling and everything else. I am also very curious to see how easy it'll be for Jimbo to find linemen and guys to fit the system that he wants to play in the state of Texas, where everybody runs a particular type of spread. How does that go? I don't have a great answer for Jimbo on that one. I don't. But hey, man, if that's the job he wants to take, I suppose that's the job he can take. I want to see what happens when that Florida State job comes open, because if it's open and, like, really open, that job has not been open since it became a power. Jimbo was in place as a coach in waiting. This hasn't been one where it's been wide open. Now, you hear a lot of people saying that Willie Taggart's the guy that's going to get that job. Maybe that's what it is, but I would love to see how it plays, because, look, if Florida State comes open, then they fill that. Texas A&M then goes, and that gets filled. And then if Tennessee got any sense to them, then they go and they fill their job at that moment. But this is when everything is going to start to move as to what happens with Florida State. So Jimbo talking about, the Florida State people, like, we want Jimbo to hurry up and make a decision. Shannon, I feel like I need him to either make a decision right now in the middle of this show, or can he wait until Tuesday when I'll need the content?
Why wait till Tuesday? I'll take it for tomorrow.
Ooh. Yeah, we got any NFL games we're talking about tomorrow?
We'll have to check the slate. I'll take it tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow, but definitely not Monday. I don't feel like we're going to need it on Monday. I think we'll be good on Monday. Like, go ahead and do that. Like, if you want to do it on Monday, do it like Monday at 7:30. Go ahead and make something happen right there. But do it for me. All right, 888-729-3776. Talk to Kyle in Florida. Kyle, thanks for calling the right time.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Just a couple quick points. I'm a Florida State fan. I think it's probably a good time for Jimbo to go now. I think he's a great coach, but sometimes some situations it's better for both parties if they just separate. And the other thing is, I was talking about, I don't understand why Tennessee, they're calling everybody, but what is the matter with T. Martin, who played there and who's works with USC? That seems like that would be a good fit. I don't understand why he's not getting a call.
Well,
I'll hang up and listen to your thoughts.
All right, Kyle, I appreciate the call. Go ahead and settle in. I'll be dealing with that coming up next. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number coming up next. How bad you got to feel if you Tennessee and the coach at NC State tells you he good? You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Bruce Feldman of Sports Illustrated will join us next segment. Bruce Feldman will join us at 4:30 Eastern. Talk about the madness at Tennessee. It never gets old. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. And, hey, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. All right, now, right before we left, my man Kyle called up. He mentioned that maybe it's time for Jimbo Fisher just to leave Florida State. The time is up. And one thing about coaching jobs that I do think is interesting is, hey, man, Jimbo has been the head coach at Florida State now for 8 years. He got there a couple years before that. So he's been there, like, on the yard for about 10 years. I mean, being in one place for about 10 years, that's about time in many cases for you to go on and do something else. Like, only in this business do you think you just stay there regardless. So, like, on that level, it makes a certain measure of sense that it would just simply be time to go. And very rarely do you find in sports that people leave at the right time to go. They normally overstay it. It's a lot like marriage in that sense, I suppose. But the other thing my man asked, he said, well, why isn't Tennessee calling T. Martin for their job? My answer for you is I don't know. And I would caution people on this one just to be careful before you get too presumptuous about why it is that people are not calling T. Martin for that particular job. The reason why I say to be careful and to not be presumptuous is, how much do you actually know about him as a coach? Like, we know T. Martin because we know his name because he was the quarterback of the 98 national champion Tennessee Volunteers. But how much do we actually know about him as a coach? When we get to talking about college assistants, by and large, we're going on the word that other people have, and a lot of the word that you get from folks has a lot to do with how friendly they are with media or how friendly their agent is with media or somebody else. But I don't really have an answer for why it is that T. Martin is not getting the call for that job. There's a lot of things I think it would be easy to make a presumption about based on some macro-level characteristics of the coaching market, but I don't have an answer for why it is that they are not calling him. I don't know if they think he's not ready. I don't know if he got some dirty business in the streets. Like, I don't know anything about why it is that they are not calling him. I do know this, though, that Tennessee called Dave Damn Doran at NC State, and he chucked him the deuce. How's that work? Like, I did the show yesterday, and I said that he would be a fool if he did not take the Tennessee job if it was offered. I would backpedal off of that just a little bit now. The reason that I would is this. They got to fire their athletic director. Like, I don't know what level of success it would take for the football program in order for John Curry to be saved as the athletic director. But given what he's done over all this time, I would say that John Curry is somebody that needs to be run off of his job. Would you sign up for a job with an athletic director who probably should be fired? Would you sign up for a job with an athletic director that will probably get fired pretty soon? Right, because what's going to happen if you get a new athletic director? The new athletic director is going to want to do what? Hire his own football coach. That's what he's going to want to do. So are you going to sign up for a situation where you're going to be under this evaluation basically immediately because they got to run Buddy out of there? Are they going to do it? I don't know. Right? So who's going to ultimately take this job? Because Shannon, the coach at NC State, said, no, I would rather be here coaching at NC State than coaching at Tennessee. Did you ever think that you would see today?
It really says a lot about, I guess, where he is and, more importantly, where Tennessee is as a program, I guess. So I'd imagine, Bo, that the fans, the NC State Wolfpack fans, have to be elated that they have their head coach back, right?
Well, that's actually where this is funny, because I don't recall a coaching situation quite like this one, where Tennessee fans didn't really want Doran. NC State fans weren't so sad to see him go. Now, to be fair to NC State fans, which is a fan base that I think gets a bad rap in a lot of ways, I feel like their argument was, if it's going to take us paying like some substantial raise in order to keep him, then no, we don't want to keep him. We've had 8-win seasons before, and what I think would have to be somewhat disheartening about NC State's season this year, somewhat, Shannon, did they win any games that they should not have won? Like, I feel like they went through their entire schedule this year and they won every game that they should have won. And then it stopped there. Because they did put together a pretty good football team, but not in the way that I think would excite people. They went 8-4, which, by the way, for NC State, pretty good. They went 6-2 in conference, which I think is the best conference finish that they've had in over 20 years. But here are the wins. Marshall, Furman, a Florida State team that we now know is bad. Syracuse, a Louisville team that we now know is at the very least not very good. Pittsburgh, Boston College, and Carolina. There ain't a win there that you can hang your hat on. Now, what do they have? A close loss to Clemson. Yes, a close loss to Clemson. They got thumped by Notre Dame. They lost their first week in a close game to South Carolina, and South Carolina's better than we thought they were going to be this year. And they lost to surprisingly decent Wake Forest, which I don't think any of us ever expected that we would be saying post-Jim Grobe. But there's nothing there that's like, oh, man, we got to have this guy, except for the fact that Tennessee is like, we got to get somebody, bruh. Anybody to come through. So you had NC State fans being like, I mean, if you want them. And you had Tennessee fans being like, we don't really want them. And now where does Tennessee go? What magic are they going to be able to pull off in order to find a coach? What I would recommend to Tennessee in this situation, stay low and build. That's what they need to do. Stay low and build. I'm hearing Kevin Sumlin's name come up a lot for Tennessee. So you're telling me the guy that just got fired from Texas A&M is going to be the one to do this for Tennessee? Is that what this is? And if you're Kevin Sumlin, you go sign up for this job with this athletic director that's probably about to get fired? You know what Kevin Sumlin needs to do? Stay low and build. Just stay low, baby. Stay low. You're getting a $10 million buyout with no offsets. Stay low, baby. Stay low. Chill. Let it play out a little bit. Let the whole situation breathe, baby. That's the move you need to make. And so Tennessee, they need to stay low and build. Sumlin, he needs to stay low and build. You know what that means? They both about to jump up like, whoa, I'm here. You want me? That's how this is going to go. How is Sumlin such a good idea to people? I have no idea. People get so excited about Sumlin. The thing about Sumlin is, before John Chavis got to Texas A&M as a defensive coordinator, Kevin Sumlin, I don't think, had a decent defense his entire coaching career. You go back and look at Houston, and you can say it's hard to build a defense at Houston, except Tom Herman and Tom Orlando managed to put together a pretty decent defense at Houston, right? Kevin Sumlin, those first years at Texas A&M, couldn't put together a decent defense. The Aggies backed up the truck. They went and got John Chavis to come there. But John Chavis, in all likelihood, is not going to come to Tennessee because it did not end so well for Chief at the end at Tennessee. I don't think that he's going to wind up going back there. I don't see it. So now what? Right? Now what? Stay low and build.
Tennessee, you know what they are? As the kids say, Tennessee, they're messy.
They're messy.
They're extremely messy. They got all their business out here. They're putting all their business out here in social media. That's what it is. That's what it equates to. Like, why do we know about all of these guys that they've been going after?
Even worse than just being messy, Shannon. They messy and they thirsty. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation to deal with somebody who was messy and thirsty, but messy and thirsty? Oh, no. That does not go very far. But you know what'll get everybody very far in this situation? If they just stay low and build. Stay low, Tennessee. Wait to see what happens at Florida State. Wait to see what happens at Texas A&M. Then maybe you got some. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right, coming up next, we ask this every day, but could it get worse for Tennessee? We'll ask Bruce Feldman of the SI on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. Check him out at SI, writing about college football. It's my man, Bruce Feldman. Bruce, were you surprised that Dave Doeren turned down this job at Tennessee?
I was a little bit, just because earlier in the week when we had been told that both he and Jeff Brom had been contacted if it didn't work out for Mike Gundy, I was told that there was a good chance that Doeren would jump at it because he'd be really tempted for such a big job. But at the end of the day, I mean, right now Tennessee has been in such a tailspin with this crazy coaching search, and North Carolina State, to their credit, have stepped up. They were going to really give him a lot more security financially, as well as put up a lot more money for his staff, which is something he'd been pushing for. So, Tennessee is back to square one once again.
All right, now separate from this disastrous search, how good a job do you think Tennessee is?
It's a good job. It's not a great job. I mean, look, it has great history. It has really good facilities. Those are definitely positives. The negatives are you have kind of a chaotic situation of leadership around it, which has been as evidenced by this whole search. That's a serious issue. The other thing is recruiting base is good, but it's not great. I mean, it's not nowhere near what Florida is, not what Texas A&M is. And when Phil Fulmer was winning a lot, and this is going back now 15, 20 years, Clemson was nowhere near what Clemson is now under Dabo Swinney. And that's in the same recruiting footprint. South Carolina was pretty awful. And then Steve Spurrier got them going a little bit. Now at least they're relevant. So I think when you look at this, it's a good job. Is it one of the 4 best jobs in the SEC? No. And I think if you look at it from Mike Gundy's perspective, he has one of the 3 best jobs in the Big 12. It's his alma mater. Why would he go to a place going from maybe the 3rd best job to probably the 6th best job in a league where you're not sure how loyal the fans are going to be once things start to go south for you?
All right, we're talking to Bruce Feldman of SI here on The Right Time. Now, with Tennessee, the question I've had is, how comfortable would I feel as a coach taking a job with an athletic director whose place is so tenuous? How long can John Curry survive this?
That's a great question. I mean, I had reported on Monday that there was some pressure to get him out of there. He hasn't been there that long. In the first place, I think what you have is a really volatile mix of the leadership committee there. You have a lot of stuff. I heard, Phil Fulmer's pointing his finger at this guy, and the Haslams are pointing their finger at that guy. And it feels like, from what I've been told, a lot of people there have been throwing John Curry under the bus. So that's a fair question if you're going to be the next head coach there, of how, is he going to be my boss come a year from now? Do they let him finish out the search, and then do they start looking for their own AD search all over again? I know the chancellor had given him somewhat of a vote of confidence, but the place is so chaotic right now. It's a tough read, because to see this search go on, it feels like it's been like the last 100-plus hours feels like it's just been one long day.
Now, who's left for Tennessee to go after?
I've been told that they have interest in Kevin Sumlin. I told there's some interest in Chad Morris, the coach at SMU. We'll see if Kevin Sumlin really wants to get on board there. The positives with him is he has a really great reputation as a recruiter. He also has always had really explosive offenses. And you think of the issues Tennessee has had, especially in recent years, they've been kind of a dud on offense. So, if his bottom years are winning 8 games in the SEC, well, that's in the SEC West. 8 wins in the SEC West might translate to 10 wins in the SEC East at this point.
All right, talking to Bruce Feldman of SI here on The Right Time. Now, where you mentioned Chad Morris, is he waiting to see what happens with the Texas A&M job?
I think that would be wishful thinking. Look, I think he's a very good coach, and he did terrific work for Clemson and getting Dabo Swinney going. But remember, his record in the AAC, as bad as SMU was, it's 8-16. So I think that's going to be a tough sell for a lot of people. I don't know what A&M would do if Jimbo Fisher, just bailed out and said, I just not going to do this, because then all of a sudden, at one point I heard one of the names to keep an eye on as a fallback would be Kyle Whittingham from Utah, because he had his president, who he worked with at Utah, is now at A&M. I'd heard Gary Kubiak's name as a possibility, because he's obviously a loyal Aggie, but I don't know what Scott Woodward, the AD, would do. Much like Tennessee, the volatility around the leadership at Texas A&M with meddling boosters and that level of chaos is pretty ripe, too.
All right, talking to Bruce Feldman of SI here on The Right Time. Now, one coaching job I wanted to ask you about is Arizona State, where it looks like Herm Edwards might get that job. It also happens that his athletic director used to be his agent. What are the thoughts about the idea of Herm going back to college for the first time in 20-some years?
To me, it looks like a disastrous hire. It really does. You're walking in where you're inheriting the coordinators. The last time Herm Edwards was coaching in college, it was practically the Pac-8, much less the Pac-12. Pac-10 or Pac-12. I mean, that's a long time. And, Herm Edwards, I know he's a dynamic speaker, but this is just so far – to me, it's so far-fetched. If I'm somebody else in the Pac-12, I'm like, oof, I don't mind seeing Herm Edwards come in there just because when you see a guy who's had that long of a layoff from college coaching, I mean, look at what's gone on at Illinois. Lovie Smith has really struggled to get any traction there. And I don't know. I just think it's going to be a real tough fit. When you see what the leadership at ASU has talked about and how they've handled it, it's kind of mind-boggling to see. I mean, I don't know. I kind of scratched my head when I heard Herm's name in there. I've heard a couple other, NFL former head coaches who were considered for the job, and I was like, wow, this is really the direction they're going in. This could be a real tough sled for the Sun Devils.
Now, staying with the Pac-12, but also kind of getting back to Tennessee, are you surprised that Tennessee has not reached out to T. Martin?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, he's as loyal as they come. He did coach in the SEC as an assistant, did a really nice job at Kentucky if you talk to people there. People know he's a really good recruiter. The thing that I'm curious about is, and this has come up a little bit in some of the people I've talked to, is Peyton Manning is part of that search committee. Does Peyton Manning really would want T. Martin as the head coach there? I mean, I've heard some mixed things on that. I've heard more they weren't sure of it at that point. So, one thing is if you're a Tennessee fan, you can't ask if you want, somebody who knows the place and understands the culture. You can't ask for a guy more in that regard than T. Martin. He's from the Deep South. He led them to a national title. A lot of the players there really love him. So we'll see. I would have thought it would have gotten to T. Martin at this point before, but then when I started asking around, the answers I got back were they weren't sure how much in his corner the leadership committee there actually is.
Well, how good of a job has he done at USC? Because we know he's the offensive coordinator, but from a distance, I don't have a great handle on what his responsibilities are or anything.
He was a Broyles Award semifinalist, which is usually it means Clay Helton at least nominated him for the award. I thought he did a decent job this year, considering they have a lot of basically a patchwork offensive line and a lot of young receivers. I'll say this for him. He is the receivers coach, and you look, you probably keep up on the NFL more than I get a chance to, but Juju Smith-Schuster, there's a bunch of guys who he coached and helped develop who really turned out to be a lot better in the NFL than probably a lot of people would have thought. And I know how well regarded he is by some of the players in that program. So towards that end, I think, he would get high marks from the guys who he's coached. The question is, he doesn't have any head coaching experience. So you're talking about, jumping into the deep end of the pool, and a little blindly. I guess a lot of that would also depend on who would he name as his coordinators and the people he would lean on and how much experience do they have, So I wouldn't underestimate him because, I go back to some of the individual work he's done. A guy like Randall Cobb, who, has been really good in the NFL. That was a T guy at Kentucky. He's developed some really good players as a college coach.
All right, that is Bruce Feldman. Check him out at Fox Sports, also SI.com. Thanks so much, sir. I appreciate it.
You got it. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
All right, man. You have a good one. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. We'll compare rates for you to help so you get the best deal, even if it's not with us, saving you time and money. Now, that's Progressive. Call or click today.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Bruce Feldman of SI for joining us last segment. Damian Woody will join us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast, available on the ESPN app. Ring in the holiday season with bouquets for your friends and loved ones from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen assorted roses for $29.99, you get an extra bouquet for free. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Been talking a bit about this coaching carousel, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Send the phones on to Rodney in Louisiana. Rodney, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Hey, Bomani, a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you, man.
My question is, why do you think Les Miles is not getting any looks for any of these coaching jobs that are coming available? I know he was, his time was due in Baton Rouge, but I still think he's a great coach.
Well, so I appreciate the call. I think that Les is dealing with two things here. One, Les is in his mid-60s. The other thing I think that Les is dealing with is Les ain't giving you no excitement on offense. Like the way that he wants to play, and I loved it for Les at LSU, and I thought that part of what made Les good was you knew what was coming week in and week out with the Les Miles team. They were going to beat the hell out of you. Like that was the thing that you knew about a Les Miles team. They were going to beat the hell out of you. And I don't know how far simply walking in every week knowing that you're going to beat the hell out of the other team is going to work. And when I say beat the hell out of you, I don't mean they're going to beat the hell out of you by the scoreboard. I mean you were going to feel that the next week. You were absolutely going to feel it the next week. 2012, when Alabama ultimately won the championship that year, but when they lost that game to Texas A&M that year, the Johnny Manziel game, you know why Texas A&M won that game? They didn't win that game because of the greatness of Johnny Manziel. They won that game because Alabama played LSU the week before, and LSU beat the hell out of them. I don't think that you're getting the miles out of beating the hell out of people in that way with Les Miles. That being said, I would greatly prefer college football if Les Miles is back because Les Miles is entertaining. I would watch a 1.5-hour documentary just on the LSU 2011 season and the crazy decisions that Les Miles made along the way. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Tiger back? Tiger back, Shannon? Tiger shot a 69 today. Tiger back, 69. Tiger back? Tiger back? Is he back? Is he back? Are you excited about the possibility that Tiger Woods might be back?
Just look, anytime Tiger's just out there, that means he's back. I don't care about getting to those levels. Tiger's back, meaning Tiger's back.
Yeah, the fact that Tiger's back did not give out means that Tiger is back. That's the problem with saying Tiger's back. I feel like when we're saying Tiger's back, we need to specifically say Tiger is back because I can't tell if you were saying that Tiger is back, or you were talking about Tiger's back. It's one of the two, right? Both of them tend to be pretty big stories. He'll never be what he was, right? And we know he'll never be what he was. And a point that I always make all the time, only two players have ever won multiple majors on each side of age 35, Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. Those are the other two. Jack Nicklaus, probably the greatest golfer who ever lived, and Gary Player, who could probably rip a phone book in half today. Like Gary Player is the Jack LaLanne of golf. He got all the techniques and all that stuff. He got that. He got it on both sides. Very few people have managed to do this. But all I want from Tiger is just one weekend. Like, I will personally be very satisfied if we get one Sunday at Augusta where Tiger's right back in it and he wins at that course that they redesigned at every turn in any way they possibly could to make sure that he never won that damn thing again. Ooh, that's all I want. One more. Can we just get one more? Is that all we can ask for is one more? Problem is, Shannon, who you think got a better chance of staying healthy, Tiger Woods or Joel Embiid?
Wow. I wasn't ready for that one, Bo. Wow. Can we use trust the process with Tiger, too? Does that work?
That's a good question. I don't even know what kind of process Tiger got, right? Like I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but I feel like we're in the same place with both of them. Like, if Tiger gets out here on a roll, we're just going to be like, man, hope he stay healthy. Man, hope he stay healthy. In fact, if Tiger gets through this tournament healthy, I'm like, Tiger, don't do tournaments, man. Just practice on your own, then just show up in Augusta. That's all we need. And I need you to show up in Augusta because by that time, I will probably be hosting a television show. And when I'm hosting that television show, we're going to need content. Give us some content, Tiger, because if you're not there, I don't give a damn about none of them other cats. Not a single one. Shannon, you got a golfer you care about? I kind of dug Rory McIlroy there for a second. Do you care about Jordan Spieth? Are you down for that?
Bubba, is he still doing this thing?
Bubba, I guess Bubba's still in the league. Do you care about Bubba, though?
That was the first name that came to the top of my head, but that's all I got.
Yeah, like Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth continuing in the long line of Under Armour pitchmen who are more attractive to parents than actual children. Yeah. Oh, Dustin Johnson. Yeah. Shannon, how about Dustin Johnson?
You can have that one.
That's the one that's kicking it with Wayne Gretzky's daughter. You didn't know that either, did you? We tried. Come on, Tiger. We need this. Even if golf doesn't think they need it, I need it. Help our show. That's all we saying. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, ooh, boy, remember those players that's trying to get some social justice concessions from the owners? It's getting tricky.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Welcome to The Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. So, Jim Trotter and Jason Reed work at ESPN. They've got a report. This is very, very interesting. Now, the NFL has agreed to commit $89 million over 7 years to what they are calling social justice causes. Now, the way that this has come about, I don't think this has been implemented, but the way that this has come about is there's the Players Coalition, right? A group of players, Malcolm Jenkins, Anquan Bolton were at the front of it. They are the guy, have been negotiating and working with the owners and trying to find something that could get the league in a place where they were making a contribution toward the things that the players found important. And, oh, by the way, the owners kind of hoping that these guys will stop kneeling during the national anthem because they think it's bad for business. Now, this story came out, but we also got to measure a drama that is surrounding this coalition of players where Eric Reed, among others, is that he's going to back he himself. I think I saw another name I can't remember off the top, but Eric Reed said that he is no longer going to be a member of the Players Coalition. Now, here's Eric Reed saying the reason why he won't be a member of the Players Coalition anymore.
There's just been a series of events that led to that decision. Myself, and I've spoken to other players, but I'll just speak for myself here, just haven't been satisfied with the structure of the coalition or the communication that Malcolm has been having with the NFL on his own, speaking on behalf of protesting players, and when he doesn't protest. So we've communicated these concerns to him numerous times, have numerous phone calls about it. Our concerns have been reflected in how the organization is being run, so I feel like I need to make a departure from it.
Now, I will say I talked to one player who was part of that coalition today, and his view of Reed is not a positive one, right? Just to be clear. So it's not like everybody that's involved in this is on board with what it is that Eric Reed is saying. There are guys who are loyal to Malcolm Jenkins and what it is that he was doing. But, oh, by the way, we got Malcolm Jenkins said today that he will no longer be raising his fist during the national anthem, which he had been doing. Here is his statement about this. He says, I know a lot of people have kind of made a big deal about the money that the league has proposed, but I'm more concerned and more interested in the platform they're proposing. The reason I started raising my fist in the first place is to draw awareness to injustices in this country, disenfranchised people of color. I wanted to draw awareness. And so I think what the league is proposing is a platform and a campaign similar to what they've done with breast cancer awareness, My Cause, My Cleats, Salute to Service, but hopefully in an even bigger manner. And if we're able to amplify our voices to showcase those causes, those issues, to highlight grassroots organizations who are doing the work and need support, to tell the stories of the people who have been wronged or left out, I think that's even more valuable than the cash amount. So hopefully in good faith, that gets built out. All of this is really in good faith, and I think if the league continues to come through or deliver on their word, then I see no need to go back to what I was doing. So basically what he is offering here is it has been written that it's not supposed to be just a simple quid pro quo about you give us this money and we'll stop protesting during the national anthem, but it does sound like somebody talked to Malcolm Jenkins and was like, hey, you think you could stop protesting during the national anthem? We would really appreciate that. It's kind of bad for business. And then Malcolm Jenkins does this. Now, Malcolm Jenkins, I don't know him. I've talked to him. We did an interview with him with HQ about some of these things. He talked about going on ride-alongs with the police and stuff like that. But the problem is Malcolm Jenkins right now look like police. Now, I mean, you know what I mean when I say he looked like police. He looking like police to people. Why is he looking like police to people? Darren Ravel put it out there today that Malcolm Jenkins opened his own Papa John's franchise. He became a Papa John's franchisee this year. Now you have Malcolm Jenkins as the guy that's the front of this operation, talking to the owners. You got Eric Reed saying that Malcolm Jenkins is cooperating or talking with the league without talking to the rest of the coalition. And then you have Malcolm Jenkins saying that he is going to stop protesting. Shannon, you understand what I'm saying when I say he looked like he police?
Yeah, it's you start to have to question his interests or his motives.
Well, also, let's not forget this. The other guy that's at the front of this operation is Anquan Bolton. You remember when Anquan Bolton was trying to get back in the league? You remember that? That is not a good look for the two dudes at the front to be trying to do this. That is a problem that I think that this coalition will have internally, at least with Eric Reed. Who knows how many other people that he's got there. But again, I'm telling you that there are plenty of guys in the coalition who are looking funny at Eric Reed like some of y'all are looking funny at Malcolm Jenkins. I read through everything the NFL was talking about doing with this coalition, and I tell you, it bothered me when I saw what the plan was of this coalition. Now, let me read some of the things that are going to happen with regards to the money. They say about $12 million annually is what it's going going to be, they say the money will be split between national causes and local causes. They say 25% of the money goes to the United Negro College Fund, 25% goes to the Dream Corps, what they call a social justice accelerator, and then half of it goes to the Players Coalition, which has hired somebody to help them figure out what it is for them to do with that money. The other thing, though, about this is there's supposed to be a board in place to talk about what happens with the money. The board is going to have 5 players, 5 owners or representatives of the owners, plus 2 people who work with the league. If you can do the math, you see what the problem on this is. The problem in that place is that the league has control of the board, because I feel like the owners are the league. The league office is the league. Like, all of those are the same people, right? The owners pay the league office. All of those are the same people. So what you're saying is on a 12-person board, 7 of them are management. 7 of them are management. What's the problem with 7 or 12 people on the board being management? One, of course, just the obvious math of it, that they constitute the majority. But the other part of this is the owners don't care about these matters. It seems to me that it's abundantly clear that all the owners want these dudes to do is stand up and keep their back straight during the national anthem. But the owners have demonstrated that they don't care about these matters. And you know how I feel confident saying that the owners don't care about these matters? Because the owners could get a lot more done with this without spending any of this money. They got money, so they gonna throw money. But they could get this done without the money. You know what the owners could do? The owners could stand up and they could say, hey, we have a problem with police forces and violence and the people that get killed for what appears to be no good reason. Like, we see videotapes of police officers killing people for no good reason, and the police officers tend not to go to jail for those things. They could do that. The owners could go talk amongst their friends about what this issue is. We talk about the owners and relationships with different institutions. The owners could be going and having these conversations with the police if they wanted to. The owners have made it abundantly clear they don't care about this. And what I'm trying to figure out is, what good are the owners going to do if they don't care about this matter? In fact, it goes another step further. It's not simply that the owners don't care about these matters, is that the owners care more about people being offended at the idea that someone would want to stop some of this violence coming from the police. They are always more concerned with the opinions of those people than they will ever be with the opinions of those who feel as though the police have their lives in their hands. The owners don't care about these things. It is only but so much that you can get out of somebody who doesn't actually care. Real change on this matter is going to offend people. I think you've seen enough to tell you this. Real change on this matter is going to offend people. The median American, however, sees no problem with black people getting killed by the police. You don't believe me? Go see what happens if you get on the internet and start talking about that stuff. The median American doesn't seem to care about that. And I feel confident saying that the median American doesn't care about that, because if the median American cared about those things, there'd be some change that didn't have to be bartered, right? They wouldn't have to be negotiated. It wouldn't have to be figured out. You'd have those people on that side of the ownership class, the people with the money and with the audiences to get something done. They'd be doing this on their own. They're not trying to do that. They don't care. They don't want it. Now, listen to this. We talked about this just a second ago, about where this money would go. It says the United Negro College Fund, the Dream Corps. Hey, man, people with degrees get smoked by the cops, too. Right? What is the United Negro College Fund going to do to stop people from getting smoked by the cops? What's the Dream Corps going to do to stop people from getting smoked by the cops? So they're throwing this money in all these places, and they're talking about they want to improve communication between law enforcement and the community. Yo, the community is like, could you please stop shooting us? What needs to be improved about that? What about that is not clear? Well, the idea always comes on the other end. Well, maybe you guys just need to ride around with the police and find out how hard their job is. What are you going to see riding around with the police that's going to make you be like, oh, okay, it's cool if somebody gets shot every now and then. Y'all's jobs are hard. That's not going to fix what the issue is. What the fundamental issue is, a lack of respect in this country for the lives of black and brown people. That's what it comes down to, because when a black person is dead, people just generally don't care. Good friend of mine, I'll never forget this story he told me. He said that he was fascinated with the Atlanta child murders when they happened in the late 70s and early 80s. And he said he was reading about them, and he said he went to talk to his grandfather about it. He's talking to his grandfather, and his grandfather's like, you don't care about that, do you? This white dude. And he says, no. And he says, grandfather says, why don't you care about it? And he said he knew the right answer at like 5 or 6 years old. He said he looked at his grandfather and was like, they're black people and nobody cares what happens to them. That's what this is. That's the thing that we're fighting against, right? If you want to go all, what about Chicago if you want to? Fine, go ahead and do that. There's a concern about the concern and value of black life going on in that circumstance, both in the way people are treated and the way the crimes are dealt with after the fact. Like, all those things happen, but you can't make the owners care. And the money that they're throwing goes beyond simply not caring. The money that they're throwing isn't going toward what I thought was the original cause and issue here, which was police violence against citizens. Nothing is being thrown really in that direction on that particular explicit cause because they are afraid that that will offend the white people. And what has happened with this national anthem thing is that the league has stood up and said very clearly, Roger Goodell said, nobody wants to come to an NFL game to be protested against. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the black people in the crowd at NFL games feel like people kneeling during the national anthem are protesting against them? No. They don't. In all likelihood, they don't. Who feels like they're being protested against according to that logic for Roger Goodell? It's the white people, man. And you're not going to be able to get anything done that matters on this issue without offending some white people. And the greatest impediment to racial progress in America is you keep trying to find a way to change things that's not going to offend some white people. And offending white people are the proverbial broken eggs if you're going to get an omelet that might stop people from getting shot for no reason. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program at fuelrewards.com/gold.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Damian Woody of ESPN will join us next segment. Damian Woody will join us at 5:30 Eastern. You know we're going to ask him about chain snatching. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Bowl season is looming. Tune in Saturday night for the ACC Championship game presented by Dr. Pepper. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNradio.com, and the ESPN app. We were talking about the Players Coalition and what's going on with the league, and Malcolm Jenkins saying he's not going to protest anymore, and Eric Reed, who is no longer a member of the Players Coalition. Now, here's something Eric Reed had to say that's in line with something I had to say last segment.
I give kudos to NFL for wanting to step up and help us with regard to systemic oppression. I question their intent behind it. I personally think they just want the protest to end because it's affecting their bottom line. But that's my take on it.
Well, and I would say on that line, you got to remember, they're talking about the teams putting up like $250,000 apiece per year on this, as I believe it was Joel Anderson astutely pointed out about this. He said, yeah, but that is 1/4 of what Bob McNair gave to the Trump inauguration committee. Like, these cats throwing off $250,000 apiece isn't really that much. Like, it's not a huge part of their bottom line. And I guess for me, I wonder how it is that these NFL owners don't look at this from a purely self-interested position. So here's what I mean by purely looking at it from a standpoint of self-interest. Fred Weary used to play offensive line for the Houston Texans. One day he got pulled over driving near Reliance Stadium, and they got him because he didn't have a front license plate. He wound up getting tased in the encounter with the police officer. He filed a lawsuit that I think he ultimately dropped, but he wound up getting tased and was adamant that he didn't do anything to deserve being tased. That's somebody who plays for Bob McNair. That's somebody who in that situation could have wound up not being a football player anymore because of what happened with that encounter with the police, which goes directly to Bob McNair's bottom line. Like, you guys own teams that are largely populated by black men in their 20s and early 30s. Right? That's who's on your squad. You got no interest in them just for the bottom line of what you got going? Like, imagine that. One of your guys gets smoked, and one of your guys gets beat up by the cops, and he's got to miss a game. You lose on this one. But they don't even look at it necessarily from that standpoint. Van Natta and Wickersham, when they did their report about the meetings that the league had and just the way they felt about Colin Kaepernick, the visceral reaction that they had about this. So is it a matter for them that they don't simply care about these issues as they confront players, or are they firmly and squarely on the other side, right? Not caring is one thing. Being opposed is another. And so it looks like it gets fair to ask the question if they simply oppose. And I ask that just because of the money that they're willing to throw at all the things except for the matter and issue that we are actually talking about. All right, 888-729-3776. Let's hit the phone, talk to Grant in Portland. Grant, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, how's it going, Bomani? Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to point out the fact how I kind of think that the owners are raising money, spending their own money, whatever the case may be, but they're kind of spending it in the wrong direction. they're saying basically by spending it in the ways they are that the young black community is doing something wrong. They need to change the way they look and think at things, not the way that the police are currently looking at things and the future generation of police. They could be spending that money to raise awareness for the policemen themselves.
Well, I appreciate the call, and I get what you're saying, but here's the thing about it to me. Where you talk about, like, raising money so that you can train the police different, training means a lot of different things, right? Like how you train somebody, how you condition them to do something, right? The training that seems to need to be in place, at least it seems, from the standpoint of a lot of people, is some actual punishment for shooting somebody. You see what I mean? Like, if you shoot somebody for no good reason, that there needs to be some actual that is training. That seems to be the part of the training that is actually missing. That's also the part of the discussion the NFL wants no part of. All right, 888-729-3776. Let's hit the phone, talk to Rob. Rob, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bomani, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I guess I'm a little surprised on what I'm hearing from you. The first thing I turn on my radio and I hear you saying that people don't care about black people getting shot and dying.
Yes.
I guess, I guess I feel like you're generalizing a lot of things here in terms of that, but I guess
why?
You're speaking, what's the percentage of the U.S. that you're speaking of? Is it just white people that don't care, or some black people that don't care? I mean, okay, but if you're saying that, do black people not care if white people are dying? There's plenty of white people dying out there too.
Dude, I'm not even really sure your point. Let me ask you a question. This is dead serious. If the preponderance of video of white people being killed in the ways that they're being killed. I can give you a great example of this, by the way, which is the woman that got shot in Minnesota when she came up behind the cop car, and then the cop shot her, and it was, oh, my God, we can't have this anymore. Something absolutely has to stop. Did you notice that the reaction to that was much different than the reaction that you had to, like, a 12-year-old getting killed by the police, 12-year-old black kid? Like, did you notice that? Because I certainly did notice that.
All right, I'm not familiar with that exact case because I don't see all these.
The yoga instructor in Minnesota. I'm sorry, I cannot remember her name, but you are more than welcome to go look it up and go look at what the reaction was to it. I don't have any problem saying that this is a country that has demonstrated it doesn't really care about the lives of black people. I feel like I got hundreds of years of history to back me up. Are you willing to are you denying that part?
Anything that the history is a history, and again, we would all like change. But I guess there's two other points.
Hold on. Are you sure that everyone would like change? What makes you think that everyone would like change? No. Let me ask you, because if everyone would like change, we'd have change. So why do you think there hasn't been change if people care?
Agreed that not everybody would like change. There's not everybody would like to have Donald Trump as president. But at the same time, yes, I would say the majority of people. You're saying the majority of people don't care about black people dying. I'm going to say the majority of people would like to be changed. So I think we can agree on that.
If the majority of people wanted there to be change, don't you think there would be?
Well, it all depends on who's making the change.
Okay. Then what do you think the holdup is? If you think the majority of the people want change, what's the holdup?
Well, that's what I would like to know as well, and that goes back to my question for you: is what do you propose? What do Eric Reed and the people that are kneeling, and again that group of people that are kneeling, and I'm just saying that group in terms of because there's white people in that group as well that are with Eric Reed and Anquan Bolden them as well. That what do they suggest to be done? Because I guess from one standpoint, I see that the owners, bunch of rich white guys in general, and I know I heard you say that they don't really care about the cause. They just want it to stop because they just want to keep printing money, which I can agree with that. But I guess what does the group suggest? How do we fix this situation, or do we just have to live with people kneeling at games? And at the end of the day, I think some of the owners would just like to say, you know what, workers, I'm the boss. Come do your job and do whatever you want outside of the job. But they are using it as a platform, which would be smart if that's your goal. But I guess, what do you think? What is the resolution here? I mean, are we going to be talking about the same thing in another few weeks, a month, 2 months?
Yes. Until look, the players aren't going to be the one to change the world, right? We're asking too much of them in that regard. Rob, I appreciate the call. They're not going to be the one that are going to change the world. As you said, the people in power are the ones that can change. And how's that change if the owners don't care? By the way, the woman in Minnesota's name was Justine Damond, D-A-M-O-N-D. Look it up. Coming up next, Damian Woody, chain snatching. That'll be a lot more fun to talk about. ESPN Radio.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Just like our next guest, he covers the NFL for us here on ESPN. His name is Damian Woody. Damian, why you hating on Eli, man? Shannon over here want to know why you hating on Eli.
Man, I'm not hating on Eli, man. People just don't want to hear the truth, man. I'm just a truth teller. That's all I do.
So what do you think about that situation and how it played out?
Listen, this whole thing is about Geno Smith, plain and simple. All the talk, all the crying, it was all about Geno Smith. The fact that he's in the same market as Eli. He was playing with little brother with the Jets, and everybody in the New York market saw everything that happened with Geno, his play, his jaw being broken, and all those type of things. And they look at him like, wait a minute, we're going to bench a two-time Super Bowl MVP for this dude? No, we can't let this. We can't let this ride, man. So that's where all this crying and stuff coming from all these people.
All right, we're talking to Damian Woody of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, with Geno Smith, do you have any idea what we can expect? Because we haven't seen Geno Smith play in a long time.
Look, I don't know what to expect. Here's what I do know. I know that Ben McAdoo likes a quarterback that's mobile. That's one thing Eli isn't. He's not mobile. You got Giants offensive line that really can't block anyone. So that's one thing that's worked in his favor, the fact that he has some escapability with his legs. But listen, people know that Geno has a big arm. He's athletic. I'm just curious to see how he looks. I mean, it's been a while since he's been out on the field.
Now with Eli, where do you think he goes from here?
Oh man, the Manning family is plotting behind the scenes. They're going to be classy about it because Eli is classy. But behind the scenes, they're going to get this thing. They're going to try to exact some type of revenge. Obviously, you got Tom Coughlin down there in Jacksonville, and I mean that makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. They got a really good defense. They got a running game. Obviously, Tom Coughlin knows Eli, being that they were together in New York, and that seems like the one piece that they've been missing down in Jacksonville is a legitimate quarterback. So I could definitely see that spot. Denver Broncos. So Eli he's going to have a lot of opportunities it seems like if and when he's not with the Giants next year.
Now, do you think Eli at this point in his career, I think he'll be 37 next year, is a legitimate quarterback?
I think if there's a lot of pieces around him, like Jacksonville is like the ideal situation because they have a good defense. The offensive line seems pretty good. They got skill position players. They got a stud running back. So Eli's not the type of guy that's going to put a franchise on his back. He's just not that type of quarterback. But I think he has all the right pieces around him. Could he elevate them and maybe to another level? Possibly. I think that definitely could happen. But that situation with the Giants, that situation is going to explode, and they need to rebuild that whole situation.
All right, we're talking to David Woody of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, you know what we got to talk to you about, man. What do you think about Talib snatching that dude? What do you think about Talib snatching my man's chain another time?
Man, listen, Bo, let me tell you something, man. You got your chain snatched once. That's Michael the Crabtree. You take the chain down. You're going against Debo. Debo snatched your chain one time before. You let the man snatch your chain again? Like, dog, you done lost a lot of points. A lot of points. You let the same dude snatch your chain again. Then on top of that, Bo, this man is throwing bare fists at a dude with his helmet on. So that's like a double no-no. You got your chain snatched, then you scrapping with the dude that got his helmet on still. So it seems to me like Michael Crabtree is not the brightest, doesn't have the brightest bulb in the world.
But he kind of had to throw a punch at him at that point, right after he got his chain snatched again.
Man, no, you ain't got to throw the punch, man. You could have scooped homeboy. Like, you could have scooped him like slammed him or something, but you gonna try to throw a punch and the man got a helmet on? Like, man, like, you're not that smart, man. Like, you don't do that. You don't do that. You just don't do that.
We're talking to Dave.
Like, it looked valiant, but it was really a dumb move.
What would you have done if you had watched somebody tape a chain to their chest in the locker room?
Man, I would have went over to Crabtree like, my man, you like your chain, right? I'm sure you paid a lot of money for it. You know, you flossy, you flashy, you do all this. Let me help you out. I would have went, I'll put the chain off his neck politely. I'm like, look, man, just put the chain in your locker. The hell you need a chain for on the field? Homeboy already scratched the chain once. Why do we need to even go through this again? Put the damn chain in your locker.
We're talking to Damian Woody of ESPN here on the Right Time. Now, what would you do if somebody snatched your chain?
Boom.
David?
Man,
David? Still got you?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Bo?
I got you, man. So you're not going for it?
Bo, listen, let me tell you something. If a man snatched my chain, there's not too many men walking on this planet that's just going to snatch my chain up like that. But if you're bold enough, then we got to get after it. I'm not going to throw the punch, but I'm going to wrestle you, though. I'm going to wrestle you. I'm going to wrestle you because you ain't going to pump me like that. I'm going to wrestle you. I ain't going to throw the punch because that's how you get your hand broke. And an offensive lineman with a broke hand is useless. But I'll wrestle you, no question.
When's the last time you had to wrestle somebody?
Man, shoot. Man, I did that one time in Detroit, man. It was like the first day of training camp, man. Defensive lineman kind of gave me like that extra. You know how somebody just give you the little extra at the end, which is uncalled for. So I was, man, went at his legs, man, just try to scoop and slam him, man. And we tussling on the ground and stuff. Then when it's all said and done, Bo, I said, wait a minute, man. You know what? I done burnt all these unnecessary calories and stuff, and for what? What did I accomplish? Nothing. I still had to go back out there in practice. I'm tired as hell, and for what? So that's usually offensive linemen are the smartest guys. We don't usually get involved in that type of stuff. But if worse came to worse, I'll wrestle you. I'll mix it up with you, no question.
We've been waiting all week to ask Damian Woody about this chain snatching, and it did not disappoint. My man, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Bo, man. Be easy.
All right, now ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Creators of the day, your price tool. Choose from a range of covered options. Pick the price that works for you.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Penzo Performance Line. Thanks to Damian Woody of ESPN for joining us last segment. Pablo Torre will join us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. The Right Time is brought to you by Allstate, proud sponsor of the College Game Day Tour, live this Saturday from Charlotte as Clemson takes on Miami in the ACC Championship game. Allstate, proud sponsor of college football. We were talking a little bit earlier about the Players Coalition and police brutality and stuff. Let's hit the phones, 888-729-3776. Charlie from Washington, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Hey, Bo, thanks for having me on, man. First-time caller here. I am admittedly a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, probably overprivileged white man. But I have to say, I think the ultimate goal is unity, right? So when you say people...
Incorrect. The ultimate goal is justice. But continue.
Okay, agreed. But when you say people don't care about black people being shot by police, I feel like that's more divisive, don't you? Because I am white as can be. I am darn near albino, but I care about it.
Okay, so when you talk about police violence with your white friends, how does that go?
I don't feel like it's that as big of a deal as it is with the black people. I do feel like there is an injustice there that needs to be dealt with.
Okay, yeah. But I asked how it goes when you talk to them, because you said that I was being divisive by saying such a thing. What could I say that wouldn't be divisive?
I think you could say that there's a heavy majority of the population that doesn't care about it. But when you just say people in general, I'm people and I care about it.
Well, okay, but do you know what general is? Like, general is not a statement of every single individual, right? Like, generalization is something that people do across the board. Generalization is a problem when you automatically go to a defective, stereotypical place. But what is there to indicate that the median American cares about black people getting killed by the police? Like, do you feel like when you talk to your white friends about that, do you feel like that's an issue that they care about?
Well, even right there, when you say my white friends, that just puts them all in the same category.
No. I'm asking. Okay. So just like generally speaking about your friends, do you have conversations with your friends about this?
I absolutely do. And
okay,
there are some of them that I'm pretty
I asked you how did it go? Yeah, I asked you how it went, and you never really answered. All you said was they probably care less than black people. So how did those conversations go?
Yeah, I admittedly, there are a few of my friends that I'm pretty disappointed when I hear their point of view on it. They're totally blind to it. And it's not that there's a prejudice or racism. It's just naivety. There are a lot of white people that are just naive to it because they don't see it firsthand.
Well, have you read any of like poll data that people have when they talk about these matters and when they talk about these issues? Because there have been poll after poll after poll that's been rolled out, like for just not specific to this, that indicate that white people believe that the real racism in America is against white people. Like you will find majorities of white people polled in these polls that feel that way. Like there's data to back this up. Do you think I'm just making this stuff up?
No, I absolutely don't. And I guess this is the first time in my white life that I felt like the minority, because I do not feel like I fall into that same category where I think that white people are the ones being, people are being racist against white people. I mean, give me a break. Come on, we have privilege like crazy, and I admit it wholeheartedly.
Look, I will tell you this, man. If you send me an email at connect@BomaniJones.com, I will send you some data that indicates that what I'm saying is not divisive. In fact, it is more like a statement of fact. But when you say that the goal is unity, no, the goal is for people to be treated right. The impediment to unity is the fact that people are not treated right. The desire for people to be treated right, when you do that, then somebody calls you divisive. Thanks for calling, though. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. I had to cut that short because there's no way in the world that I would ever let November 30th pass without wishing a very happy birthday to one of the more important people in my life, and that would be Vincent Edward Jackson of Bessemer, Alabama. You may know him better as Bo Jackson. Can I tell you that a couple of the highlights of my life? Number one, being asked to be involved in the 30 for 30. You don't know about Bo Jackson. And I drove up to Charlottesville, Virginia from Durham to go do that. I went the day after my birthday, and I remember I sat down in the chair, and the first thing I said was, we're going to talk about Tecmo Bowl, right? Like that was the first thing I had to say. It was like, we're going to talk about Tecmo Bowl, right? Because Bo Jackson in Tecmo Bowl, I dropped maybe the greatest line I've ever dropped in my life on that documentary. Bo Jackson only had one play on the first Tecmo Bowl because it would have been unfair if you gave him two. Shannon, can you imagine how unbeatable the Raiders would have been if Bo Jackson had two players in the first Tecmo Bowl?
I couldn't even imagine it, to be honest with you.
Yes. Ready? Hut, 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 hut. Oh, man. But, dude, Bo Jackson, like, I think it is – I don't know if there'll ever be another athlete quite like Bo Jackson in the sense, like, that documentary about him, the 30 for 30, was on the notion that he was like a folk hero because he had all these amazing stories of the things that he was capable to do. That big joker didn't even lift weights. Right, like all these different and crazy stories about what he was able to do. And then when you watched him, I don't think, like, LeBron James is the most freakish athlete I think that most of us would say that we have ever seen. Bo Jackson was LeBron James in two different sports. He's 55 years old right now with an artificial hip, and I still don't think that I could beat him in a race under any circumstance whatsoever. And the most amazing thing about Bo Jackson is he's the only one who's not impressed by this. Happy birthday, Bo. Thanks for the memories. All right, coming up next, Florida State, Jimbo Fisher. Why is he talking about leaving, maybe? It's ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.